right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Today we're going to go over some various violations that you may not even know are very serious, but maybe you've done them in the past and just didn't really think much of it. But we're going to go over a few of those. Some risk management and best practices for avoiding post-closing claims. Post-closing claims are annoying, nobody wants loose ends after we close a deal. So a lot of that stems from just not handling the transaction as proactively as possible during the transaction, or a lot of it can actually be addressed in the offer process itself if you're really covering all the bases, really. A lot of post-closing claims I see have to deal with a lot of failure to disclose things. Sometimes it has to do with move outs from, seller in possessions. That's not quite as common, but I see them in a lot of different scenarios, and they can really be annoying. We close a deal, we want to be done, we want to be moving on to the next thing. We don't want to be, handling post-closing claims and complaints and things like that. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll see how far we get. I think I made the presentation a little long, so we may do a part 2 next week. We'll see how much I can get covered today. So let me go ahead and get started. So if you have questions or anything, or scenarios that maybe you're in or have seen or we're part of, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we can discuss some of those as well. Everything I'm going to talk about today, I'm not an attorney. This isn't legal advice or anything like that, but I've seen and been through a lot of transactions and handled a lot of different scenarios and complaints and things like that. So a lot of these are suggestions. They're also from Car Legal and things like that. So hopefully you find this valuable. So this one is probably more common than you would think out there, where maybe you're talking to a seller and they're like, oh, well, put the feelers out there and this and that. And that's, marketing or advertising a property without a listing agreement. Maybe you threw it up on Facebook or something like that, and you do not have a listing agreement in place. Well, how serious of a violation is this? And the reasons that we generally see this are the agent or broker is expecting the seller or landlord to sign a listing imminently and wants to get started with the marketing early. I'd say that's probably the most common. The agent or broker has some sort of permission or agreement with the seller to market the property in order to test the waters of the marketplace. So if you are considering marketing or advertising a property without a listing agreement, even if you have intentions of securing one in the future, here's what you need to know about that. What is the potential legal issues that may be involved with marketing a property when I don't have a listing agreement? So the DRE may consider this conduct to be in violation of several sections of the state's real estate law. So this isn't not only just MLS stuff, this is actual California law that you might be violating here. Specifically, the DRE has explained that California Business and Professions Code sections 17500, 10140, and 10176 stand opposed to this conduct. So Business and Professions Code 17500 applies to false advertising. And to summarize that, it's a lengthy code, but it's unlawful to advertise services or otherwise induce the public to enter in any obligation by any means that are in any way untrue or misleading. Any violation of this section is a misdemeanor, punishable by jail time up to 6 months, and a fine of up to $2,500 or both. So, if DRE came across a Facebook post or something like that you had up there, and you didn't have a listing agreement in place, you might be violating this, and they could take this very seriously. There's just one of them. When marketing a property, unless you state very carefully the specific arrangement, a consumer could reasonably understand that you have a sufficient relationship to the property to confer upon you the rights and responsibilities of agency or similar authority. Plainly, consumers will probably think you are the listing agent. If consumers are led to such a belief and act upon that belief, then you have misled them. While there are certainly situations that might not fall within the scope of this law, it is generally applicable. Section 10-140, also lengthy, but we condense that down. Any real estate licensee involved in false advertising related to real estate, either as to a sale or lease of property or services related thereto, is guilty of a public offense punishable by jail time of up to 1 year or a fine of up to $1,000 or both. The licensee must stand trial before the real estate commissioner for a suspension or revocation of his or her license. This section is notable in that it includes loss of license as a possible consequence. Further, there is language in the code that makes it applicable not just to intentional knowing violations, but also to negligent conduct as well. So you can see that this really could head down a bad path for something as simple as your neighbor saying, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Do you think you can maybe find a buyer for it? And then I'll list with you. And you start marketing the property without this listing agreement, this could actually be a very serious violation for you. So you want to stay away from doing that. Business and Professions Code Section 10-176 further addresses licensee misconduct of this type and adds the following actions, among others, that the DRE can investigate that can lead to a sanction up to loss of license, making any substantial misrepresentation, making any false promises of a character likely to influence, persuade, or induce, a continued and flagrant course of misrepresentation or making of false promises through licensees, any other conduct which constitutes fraud or dishonest dealing. So this is actually something that I think a lot of real estate agents take somewhat lightly because we're all trying to do business out there, but it's actually a very serious violation. It's something that you really want to stay away from. You know, just marketing property in general when you don't have a listing agreement is a serious offense in the eyes of the DRE and California state law. Advertising on social media. So advertising is the promotion of a specific listing via any distribution method or media type. In a social media context, examples would include, but not limited to, a link on a page or feed which leads to a site or platform displaying the listing info, a video or photos of the listing uploaded, posted to a social media platform, user-created content including information about a listing uploaded, posted to social media platforms. So does this include social media posts that disappear from the feed or timeline? This would maybe be like a Snapchat or Instagram stories or something like that. Your MLS compliance department must be able to access the social media post. So what they're kind of saying there is if you're posting stuff in a story or maybe on Snapchat or something like that, where it cannot be found by the MLS compliance department, you could be in a violation. Posting another agent's listing on any private or invitation-only platform, such as Snapchat, Instagram, or private Facebook group, still requires specific written permission of the listing broker, as they are not allowed under the IDX rules. So let's get into advertising another agent's listing on social media, because this is something that's not uncommon and it's not a violation to do so if you do it properly. So this is permissible only if you have obtained the listing broker's written permission to advertise the property before you post, and you're not presenting the information in a way that is misleading. There are two ways to obtain a broker's permission to advertise their listing in a social media context. The first is to get permission expressly, directly from the broker via written communication. You always have to give credit to the listing broker in your advertising. So yes, you can put your contact information and designation in there, but you also have to give credit to the listing broker, listing office, things like that. The other way is to use a compliant IDX feed as the source of your social media post. I've gone over IDX in the past, but essentially IDX is the MLS search function on a real estate agent's or broker's website. So like our company website has an IDX feed from actually multiple MLSs, and you could take a link from there and post it to social media, and that would be compliant. So for example, if you were to post a link on your social media feed that leads back to your broker's IDX site, you would be acting with the permission of the listing broker. So this is from CRMLS, this rule, but most MLSs follow the same model. I actually don't know any that don't. There might be some out there when it comes to IDX feed, but listing brokers give their permission that their listings may be included in the MLS's IDX feed, including use for social media posts. So that's part of the agreement for being a part of that MLS, is they are agreeing to allow IDX links to be posted. Now, something I covered a while back on IDX was if that broker said, I don't want my listings to be posted through IDX on other agents' websites and things like that, then actually they couldn't do it either. So it's a two-way street. So most brokers that I know of, they don't challenge this rule and say, I don't want my stuff posted out there. I'm sure there's some out there somewhere, but most of the time everybody just kind of lets it roll. So and in that case, you probably wouldn't even see it in there as available to post. What you may not do is a screenshot or copy a photo into your social media platform and then draft your own post content. The social media post must be created using a link that will take the consumer back to the IDX website from which the post was linked. So yes, you can do it. Give credit to the listing agent and use IDX. And I see some of you out there posting like a link from Redfin or Zillow or something like that. I really, really discourage that, because all you're doing is sending your audience and your clients over to a website that sells leads to other realtors. So if you see a cool listing come up, or maybe you had permission or something to market that particular listing and you post the Zillow link up, all you're doing is dragging your traffic away and giving it to Zillow. You really want to not do that. That's not a compliance thing. That's just a marketing thing. You're literally telling your clients, hey, go to these other websites and get in front of these other realtors that are paying for that traffic. So don't do that either. Misleading and or false advertising or representations. So in large part, Rule 12.2, again from CRMLS, is concerned with misrepresentations as to the advertising agent's relationship to the property. Specifically, any advertisement that makes it look as though the advertising agent is the listing agent will be considered a violation. Again, you must give credit to the listing broker in your advertising, and I strongly encourage you to use an IDX link. This type of misrepresentation is one of the most common problems with social media advertisements and should be carefully guarded against.